So hey guys, I'm on spring break. Party so hard! But no, actually, I'm just still in my bedroom. So, happy Good Friday to you all. In case you haven't noticed, there's been a lot going on. So, one thing, it's Holy Week, so Christians getting their Christian on, all good. And then also DOMA and Prop 8 are up in the Supreme Court getting possibly repealed. Good stuff, but wait. What's this? My fellow Christians, my fellow gay rights supporters. Blah, 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 blah. There seems to be some problems here. Shall we go ahead and have a look at what's going on here? Now, this might just be me, but I've always found the Bible is most interesting and usually most meaningful when you look at it in its historical context. So we're gonna go ahead and try that. Now, the most important thing to remember, no matter what side you're on, is that Jesus was a huge equalist. He was a humanist. He believed in fighting prejudice in so many ways. He treated women better than anyone of his time. He was anti-slavery. Instead of going to rich, highly educated, almost rabbis, apprentices, he went to poor fishermen to be his disciples. That is unheard of. And perhaps one of the biggest examples of this is the fact that God sent his son not as a Roman senator or as an emperor or a conqueror, but as a simple Jewish boy, a peasant, a nobody. But he ended up making all the difference. Am I right? Now, along with preaching the fact that you need to, acknowledge the fact that you're going to fail and you're going to be a bad person sometimes, Jesus taught two things. Love your God, love your neighbor. That sounds pretty simple. In fact, that sounds like something most of humanity would agree with. Now, I can say from experience that I think the problem comes mainly from two pieces of pretty well-known scripture. They're both Leviticus. One is chapter 18, verse 22, and that is, "Do not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. That is detestable." The second is Leviticus 20, verse 13. "If a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads." And of course, what everyone always uses to come back from this is Deuteronomy 22, verse 11. "You shall not wear a garment of different sorts, of wool or linen together." And then usually gay rights activists will ask whether or not your shirt is cotton polyester. In this case, both parties are kind of wrong in that they use scripture out of context. With Deuteronomy, it's pretty simple. You could basically interpret that as God giving the advice of, hey, if you mix certain fabrics, they're gonna not turn out well when you use clothing. But Leviticus seems infinitely more complicated. The question of whether or not gay marriage is inherently wrong is, in fact, another question altogether from this argument. I personally would say it is not. And I personally would argue that it's never wrong to love someone, that Jesus was very pro-love. He was a complete hippie. He was such a make love not war kind of guy. But that's not exactly where this argument that we're having right now seems to be going. The argument seems to be whether or not we should judge gay people for their sin. And I only put it in quotes because I personally don't believe it is one. Whoops, took more than one day to film. But back to the matter at hand, it seems to be the question is whether or not Jesus intended us to judge by Old Testament standards. Let's go to the Bible. "And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? They said this, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down, and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he had not heard them. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself, and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone at her. And again he stooped down, and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convinced by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing in the midst." What Jesus seems to have done here, be it intentional or not, is tell us two things. One, we probably don't need to live our lives strictly to Old School Testament values. And two, we probably don't need to judge others based on Old School Testament values. And can I just inform you that Leviticus is just about the definition of Old School Testament. And I'm not saying that you have to like everyone. Okay, Lord knows I don't. But I am saying that Jesus was very into the love your neighbor kind of scene, and he was very not into the judging your neighbor based on Old Testament values kind of scene. So if you want to dislike someone, that's fine. But you don't have to share it, first of all, with the world. And you don't have to quote a Bible verse to try and justify it and make it okay. Can I just remind my fellow gay rights supporters and the gay community themselves that not all Christians are evil, bloodthirsty Bible pushers trying to get you to burn in hell, okay? I know it might seem that way sometimes with the stereotype that we have, especially in between our two communities, but I'd like to prove myself an example that there's a merger there, and I think there's a lot bigger one that people recognize. And yeah, I mean, the Christian community, we can be kind of cool sometimes, so give us a chance. Just some food for thought coming from a high school girl sitting in her bedroom over spring break. Yeah. So yeah, I made a thing, and thanks for watching it, folks. I've taken up enough of your time. Happy Easter. Don't forget to be awesome.